Where's the Pelton? Oh, you're over there already. Okay, here's the nutcase. I mean, wait till you hear what he does. Come on. What does he do? He's still getting wired up. And he looks so elegant, doesn't look the part. If I looked like that, I'd be famous. Okay. There you go.
They're going to run just a bit from my show, and then I'll start talking. It's just a taste of a show I do for, of all places, the Travel Channel. I don't know if you, yeah. It's part of a plan, though. It's part of a plan. My name is Robert Young Pelton, as you noticed, and I'm kind of known for doing things that I shouldn't do. And primarily amongst those are going to war zones and talking to rebels and getting arrested and deported and doing things that journalists don't do. And I also have to admit that I'm a Canadian, which is kind of weird because Canadians aren't supposed to do that. You're supposed to be sort of American or Russian or something crazy like that. But the reason I talk here and the reason I sort of try to get out there with a very consumer message is that I have a goal, and it's based on places that don't have electricity and people that don't make phone calls, that have never heard of the internet. And what I'm trying to do is take what I think is important and put it into the mainstream media. So I write a book about every war zone in the world. Also covers kidnapping, landmines, mercenaries, you name it. It's about 2 inches thick. It's called The World's Most Dangerous Places. And you won't find it in the poli-sci section. You'll actually find it in the travel section. I don't know if you've seen the actual book. And it's also a funny book because when I wrote it back in 1995, it gets updated every year, I actually wrote it straight, and it kind of scared me. So I went back and I wrote it funny, and it made sense. So if you do get a chance, that book will explain just about everything that's going on in the world that you really don't want to know about. The other thing I do is a TV series, which you probably saw a piece of, but you might have seen it if it bleeds into the Canadian border. But like most good Canadian things, are only seen in the States. You don't get it here. The idea is just to take me and a little camera, I'm not as cool as Steve, and then go into these places without any script, without any sort of manufactured reality, and take you to meet hitmen, rebels, kidnappers, pirates, I mean, you name it. And sit down and talk with them and find out what the hell they're doing and why they kill people and what they're complaining about and so on and so forth, and hopefully get back with the videotape and put it on television. And it is the highest rated show on the Travel Channel now, which is kind of interesting because I was actually fired halfway through the series. I was in, I think I was in Sturgis on a motorcycle, and I had sent the rough cut of the Philippines show to the president of the Travel Channel. And I got this sort of jarbled, mumbled phone call saying, cease and desist. Get off your motorcycle, get back here, we want to fire you personally. So I wanted to know what the problem was. He said, well, you can't show this on TV. This is not what we show on TV. And I said, but it's real. And I said, well, what's the problem? He said, the Minister of Tourism for the Philippines is going to kill us. And I said, no, it's called The World's Most Dangerous Places. It starts off with a hitman who's killed 200 people, including 10 Americans and the head of the CIA station, giving me a tour of Manila. And at the time, he's the most wanted man in the Philippines. And, well, it's an interesting tour, come on. And then we cut to sex tourism, and then we go find a rebel group that even the government doesn't know about because they're trying to kill them before I can get to them on the island of Negros. And we continue from there down to the south where those people are being kidnapped now with Abu Sayyaf. And then we go to the head of the MILF, which is Hashim Salamat. And we listen to him, and we visit this entire city, complete with Coca-Cola signs. It's a rebel base, one of 40 rebel bases in the southern Philippines. And he just says that you just can't put that on TV. That's not TV. Luckily, the gentleman who actually bought the show, Michael Lennon, interceded for me. And I'm happy to say that is the highest rated show they've ever run. So I'm very, very happy about that. But more importantly, what's happening is that I'm becoming a weird kind of celebrity. I go on CNN a lot, and I go on these shows. And I'm not a journalist. I don't go to these places because I'm taking notes or I'm trying to get a story published. I go there because journalists won't go. So what I'd like to tell you about is the future of war. And actually, when I saw Steve, I kind of thought, man, the military is going to be on his ass in seconds because they want that. But anyways, the future of war is very frightening to me because it's not about technology. It's about entertainment. And if I was to take you through 2 wars, I just got back from Colombia about 2 weeks ago. And it's kind of a soft war for me, but Men's Journal called me up and said, will you take one of our writers to a war? We want to write a story about you. And I said, and please don't kill him. So I said, okay, well, we'll have to find a war where it looks exciting, but he won't get killed, and so on and so on. So I don't make this up. Come on, I don't make this up. So Tim Cahill, if anybody knows who Tim Cahill is, he writes sort of stories about rafting and paddling. What a coward he is. Okay, we're going to get Tim Cahill to do it. I'm like, oh, Jesus. So Tim's a very nice man, by the way, and also a very timid man. So I figure, okay, we can go back to Chechnya, but everybody I knew in Chechnya is now dead, so that's probably not a good indication. We can go meet bin Laden, but I don't know, that might be a little dicey. So I said, okay, let's go to Colombia. So I called a friend of mine who's a mercenary, and he knows his way around, and he's been out in operations with the military. And I said, look, I need some pretty hardcore stuff. Let's go on combat missions. Let's go find out what's going on with the coke trade. Let's go meet the paramilitaries. Let's go meet the rebels. Let's mix it up and do it. So we land, and the first guy that wants to talk to us is the head of all combined operations for the Colombian military. And we basically lay it on him thick. I said, look, my cameraman is a former mercenary. My translator is a former mercenary. We fought here, 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 here. I haven't fought. And we want to get in there, and we want to show what's going on. Now, our timing was perfect because they want $1.7 million from us so we can fight some more war. And so he was going to put on a show for us. So first thing he does is send us on a 3 a.m. raid on a bunch of urban terrorists. They have terrorists in and out of the city. And wow, this is great. Issued HKs with silencers, and they got vests on, they got their helmets on, and they're getting ready, and they're sweating, and we go. And then as we're going there, we stop. And I said, well, what are we stopping for? We've got to pick up some public defenders. I'm like, really? Okay, so these public defenders who are like me and you, wearing suits and nice dresses and everything, get in the car, and we're driving around to this nasty part of Colombia. And it's a very, very ugly part of Bogota. And we're sneaking through the alleys, and the dogs are barking, and the people are kind of peering through the things, and we're well armed. And we get to the door, and I'm thinking, okay, here it goes. So I stand back, because I wait for the explosion, because they usually blow doors. And the guy goes, and I'm like, did I just see what I just saw? He just knocked, and there's supposed to be 5 armed men there with machine guns and shotguns and pistols and everything. And he goes, knock, knock, knock. And the lady says, oh, excuse me, ma'am, we're from the anti-terrorist squad. Could you open the door? Well, I learned one thing, and this is very strange, is that Colombia actually has more protections of civil liberties than we do, or America does. When you arrest somebody in Colombia, you have to read them 10 rights, and they actually have to sign a form. And actually, Moses, you've got a thing going down there, right, with City? Because I was kind of freaked out when I saw those guys racing around. Moses has a station or a licensing deal, I don't know, in Bogota. But we knocked very politely, and these public defenders have to go in first before the guys with the... to make sure that nobody gets killed. And if they do get killed, there's somebody there that explains how they got killed. And I was blown away. Okay, so I thought, okay, no action and footage on this baby. So I go back to the general. I said, okay, I really need to get into it. I got to have, this is TV, it's not radio. I got to, He says, okay, I got just the thing. Colombia's a big country, and down in the south there's a place called Putumayo, which is the hot spot for coke, paramilitaries, rebels. There's just people dying left, right, and center. So I said, okay, you're going to Putumayo. So we get on and we have a military escort, and they actually send a cameraman to film us because it's so unusual that a bunch of foreigners will go down to this area because there's so much fighting. And we look down, it's just Amazon as far as you can see, and there's a little strip like this. So the plane lands on the strip. We're met by a sort of delegation. And we figure we're going to jump in the boats, suit up, hunch down and try not to get killed. And instead, there's this 3-story tent in the middle of the jungle. And it's this beautiful green, it's like a circus tent. And it's surrounded by sandbags about 12 feet high, very nicely done, black. And we go inside, and inside it's like this. It's white, it's painted white though, there's no windows, and it's it's freezing cold in the middle of the Amazon. And there's all these new office units there, and they've got sort of this nice, sort of Staples kind of ambiance, And they offer us coffee, and we're thinking, okay, we're getting ready. Have a seat, let's give you a little briefing. I'm thinking, oh, they got to tell us about how not to get killed. So we sit down, and we watch a 2-hour PowerPoint presentation. 2 hours. With little animations like, rebel casualties. Bzz, bzz. Paramilitaries casualties. Bzz. Amount of cocaine seized bzz, last year. Bzz. And we're watching it over and over. So after 2 hours, I don't want to be rude, but we're losing our light. I'm like, okay, let's get into it. Let's get into the boats and head into the jungle and whatever. So I said, oh no, let's have a little drink first. Okay, fine. So we get into a Hummer. How they got the Hummer, I don't know. And this American advisor actually drives us to what used to be an officers' club. And the Putumayo is kind of a big, fat, ugly river with a lot of jungle on the other side. And so we pull up to this officers' club, and it's been blown up, but it's still a nice place. And they've got a little table with drinks, and they've got little cakes all nicely cut up, and they've got 2 big speakers about this big, and they got a little guy at a podium. And it's a flat sort of patio that overlooks the river. So we think, okay, drink. And all of a sudden, this music comes up. I'm like, whoa, what's that? And it's Casey and the Sunshine Band. I'm thinking, oh, okay. And this guy started reading in Spanish. And basically what he's saying is, the rebels have grouped in a large formation. We will begin the assault with a gunship. He will fire 40-millimeter grenades into the jungle to soften up their defenses, followed by the attack. And I'm like, oh, no. I hear a helicopter. I'm going, oh, Jesus. This gunship comes by, and blows up the jungle. And all of a sudden, these speedboats come in with machine guns, 50 caliber machine guns, and then 260s on each side, and just rip the jungle to bits. And he's narrating while Casey and the Sunshine Band is going. And he says, and now to neutralize the rebels, we will now bring in the gunships and blow up the entire camp. And all of a sudden, the entire jungle just blows up. And I thought, I just saw Apocalypse Now, a bigger budget. So we're thinking, well, okay, let's get in the boats now. I mean, this is interesting. They lay on the show. Oh, no, let's have lunch first. So they drive us over, and we go have lunch. And it's catfish, which I'm sure they get with grenades. It's a big, ugly fish about this big. It was very good. And, okay, now it's like 3 o'clock. Okay, let's go. It's going to be dark, And we get back in this vehicle, and they take us to the airport. And they explain to us that, well, the officers have to be back by 5:30. It's Friday. I hope you enjoyed it. And they fly us back. And I'm kind of lost for words at this point because I want to see what the war is like in Colombia. I need to know what's going on. So we call the general up. Oh, boy, he's got an asshole this big now, It's like, we need to see reality. We don't need to see dog and pony shows. Okay, we're going to go on a big coke bus tomorrow. 300 troops, 11 Hueys, 2 Blackhawks. Everybody's going to be there. Oh, it's going to be massive. So, okay, jump in the plane again. Bzzz, we go to the north now by the border with Venezuela. And, oh, this is cool. There's Hueys everywhere. Blah, 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 blah. And there's guys with machine guns and bullets all over them. And we're thinking, yeah, this is going to be pretty serious. So they have Blackhawks. I don't know if you know this. The only police force that has Blackhawks. We were with the military, now we're with the police. And these are very expensive things that we give them money to buy. So I figure, we go through the drilling, sit on your flak jacket, blah, 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 blah. We get ground fired, hunch in. And if we go down, do this. But okay, fine, let's go. So we get ready to leave, and he said, well, the troops are going to go first. Okay, because we need to make sure it's secure. I said, fine, because we're actually with the generals and all the top brass. So we figured, that's understandable. So blah, 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 these helicopters take off. And then we get in these multi-million-dollar Blackhawks, and it's all journalists. And I'm thinking, oh, wait a second. So we get in these Blackhawks, and we land, and it's a coca lab. I don't know if you know what coca labs are. They're just little ratty-ass looking things with a lot of stinky chemicals and then leaves on the ground, and they usually are next to a field full of coca bushes, which are kind of nondescript. They pull the leaves off and they process it. So we land, and the pilot doesn't want to land, and he's looking around like this and thinking, well, it's going to get hot. We better get out. We better get out. So I jump up and run out. And then I run to the coca lab, and I said, the coke is spaced exactly 4 inches apart. Little plastic bags of coke inside this lab. I'm thinking, if that's $800 for a little bag of base like that, wouldn't that be the first thing these guys would run away with? It's like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And all of a sudden, we're invaded by journalists. And there's about 30 journalists now. And I thought we were on this operation that was very tense and very dangerous. We go through, and it's like, oh, this is another dog and pony. And then there's helicopters flying over. And then we were asked to walk up a hill. We walk up a hill, and they have these soldiers, and I think they're for security. And then I realized they're for foreground. They use them so that you can take a picture when they blow the lab up. You have a guy with a machine gun standing in the foreground. And I look around, I realize, yeah, in front of every photographer, there's a guy, looking tough. And then all of a sudden, boom, they blow the lab up. And then they blow up the landing strip. And then these spray planes fly over so we can get a shot of spray planes flying, because that's nothing they need money for. So now I'm pissed. I'm really pissed. So I say, well, screw you guys, but I'm going to go see the rebels, because this is bullshit. I'm out of here. Oh, no. So they send us up on one more mission, which is a real combat mission, which is fine. That's great. And get some good footage, whatever. But I said, look, I don't feel good about it. I'm going to go see the rebels. So you ever know what the FARC are? F-A-R-C. They're very nasty Marxist-Leninist rebels. Kidnap people, murder people, whatever. And they love killing or kidnapping Americans and Canadians, And so we try to get permission, but you really can't get permission to go into rebel headquarters. So we just fly in. And there's 3 of us. 2 are technically Americans. I'm a Canadian. But these 2 guys are mercenaries, and could be anything. Land, and we go down to the town square, and we say, okay, we're here to see the FARC. Oh, good timing. So why? Well, they just blew the head off a 53-year-old woman the day after Mother's Day. It's a public relations disaster. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. They just killed this woman. I don't know if you saw this in the news. They put a pipe bomb around a woman's head and blew her head off the day after Mother's Day. And they were scared that they would stop the peace talks. So here comes these American journalists. They're just, oh, okay. So what they did is they took us to their secret headquarters. Their secret headquarters is about an hour out of town on a real dirty, muddy, rutty road. And a place called Los Pozos. And we drive up, and there's these satellite trucks there. And there's dishes pointing to the sky. And there's a big auditorium. And I'm going, uh-oh. What is this place? And I walk in. It's a rebel thematic center. Now, I didn't make that word up. It's called the thematic center. And I walked in, and there's all these guys, the FARC with their machine guns, and they got rebel chicks. You ever seen FARC chicks? They have rebel chicks. And they put them, just like the other guys had the big macho guys, they got chicks, and they're beautiful. They're anywhere from 15 to like 30, and they got long, flowing hair, lipstick, makeup, and they got a nice, clean machine gun, and they just stand there like this. So every time you take a picture, there's always a FARC chick like this. And I walk inside, and then there's computers, there's widescreen TVs, they're all sitting on the phone, calling people, doing emails, they're working the databases. And I'm like, this is not feeling good about this. So I ask the person in charge of Rebel PR, yes, there is such a thing. Her name is Sandra, but she doesn't have a last name because it's an alias, to give me a tour. Well, okay, so here we go. This is where we have our database, and this is where we contact people. We're starting a new secret political party, and we call people, and we ask them to join. And this is our guy in charge of indoctrination. And he turns around and he said, oh, and don't forget our 800 number, 1-800, blah, blah, blah. Dead serious, I am not kidding you. You know this, right, Moses? You know this, 800 number. And all of a sudden, they start trotting out these leaders. And one by one, they sit there and they say, we didn't kill her, we didn't do this, we're not commies, we're going to start a new form of journalism, whatever. We're dutifully, talk to a FARC chick. So between every rebel leader, we had to interview a FARC chick. And the FARC chick says, the socialist cause, we're fighting for, make sure her hair's okay. And my favorite one was when we said, let's go to the rebel camp. So we go to the rebel camp. And this gal shows us around, and she's about 16, and she's kind of bouncy and happy, and she's making sure her hair's done. She sits there and said, would you like to hear a revolutionary song? I'm like, sure, why not? Let me go get permission first. And I say, wait a second, you're a rebel, and you need permission to sing a revolutionary song. Oh, yeah. Okay, cross that one off. So what we found out is that the rebels are very savvy about PR. And then what happened after that was the paramilitaries were pissed that we had met with all the head of the military, and we'd met with all the top FARC. So now I have to go back down there in about 2 weeks and do this exclusive 1-hour documentary about the paramilitaries who killed most of the people down there. But now they're getting press savvy, and they're a little mad that they're not getting all this good PR. And you know the rebels have a clipping service, right? Paramilitaries, I sent my guy to meet with them last week, and he was really pissed that the rebels had taken this woman who had her head blown off and spun it into sort of a positive thing because they aborted it and they thought it was a plant by the government to kill the peace treaty and da-da-da-da, and it wasn't really them and da-da-da. And so I was very disillusioned. And Tim had a great time, by the way. You know, he's been to Jonestown, he's been to all these wacky places, and he was just yucking it up. He's saying, man, we're an animal farm. This is just great. This is going to be a great article. But I really felt that, you know, this can't be right, because these are the people that kill people. I mean, it's just, and I've been with rebel groups all around the world. So I had my faith restored finally, because there's a guy named Mano Jojoy. You know who Mano Jojoy is? He's a psychopath. His brother killed those 3 American workers working with the indigenous Uwa Indians. His name is Jorge Braceno. So he hears we're in town, and he wants to drink with us. He wants to party. So, okay, fine. And he's got this really sexy, brand-new Toyota Land Cruiser. This is a Marxist-Leninist, by the way. Doesn't say honks if you love Lenin, but it should. And he's sitting in the shade drinking Absolute. And I think, isn't this appropriate for a Marxist-Leninist be drinking Absolute and driving a Toyota Land Cruiser? So we get into it. We're drinking. And then he's got this little posse with him, bodyguards and hangers-on or whatever. And as the alcohol kicks in, the guy behind us keeps going, gringos. And I'm like, what? Gringos. Rich Americans. And it suddenly dawned on me, oh shit, they kidnap Americans here. And this guy was so blown away. And he's like, holy crap, there's 3 Americans sitting right here in front of us in our rebel camp. And it started to get tense. And the translator was saying, we gotta go. Let's just drink up, let's get the hell out of here. But I said, no, let me handle this. And I said, Mano, he said, if you kidnapped us, that would be really bad PR. And he's like, you're right. So it just kind of restored my faith that they were psychopaths, but they still know the value of a good story. Anyway. But let me tell you about a more evil kind of war. And this is, so the point is, for those who fell asleep, was that media plays a big part in war. They aren't really fighting a war in Colombia. But when I was in Chechnya, I was in Grozny with the rebels in December. And there was an incident in which technology met entertainment. A Russian Grad missile flew in and blew the face off of the leader of the Philharmonic Orchestra, and I watched him die. And what bothered me at that time was that I was the only Westerner in Grozny with the rebels. And I had actually brought in 2 journalists because no other journalists would go. And actually one of them was a 26-year-old Canadian girl who's never been in a war zone. And I felt that somebody had to be there because the Russians were trying to keep people out. Most of those kidnappings you hear about are done in Russia by Russian mafia to keep journalists out. A friend of mine was detained, Ian Lloyd was detained for 5 days. Another friend of mine was actually kidnapped, Andrei Babitsky, put through kind of a weird little charade where they wanted to kill him, but the rebels said, we're not going to kill him, you go ahead and kill him, because we're not going to kill him. And inside Grozny, which, I don't know if you've ever seen Scud missiles or been hit by anything bigger than a baseball bat. It's hell. I mean, it's like Stalingrad. It's just things blowing up all the time. I had an Iridium, which is now dead, of course. And I wasn't a journalist, but I felt I had to be at that time. And so I started to call the news organizations. And AP said, there's nobody here. Can you fax it in? And I said, no, I'm in the middle of a battle. I'm in Grozny, surrounded. People are dying. I want to just tell you what's going on here. CNN said, oh, no, we've got people in the region. I said, no, you've got people in Russia. You don't have people in Grozny. Went through the list. The only people that took the story from this young lady was CBC, which ran a 5 or 10 minute piece, which I think you may or may not have heard. So I was disgusted with the whole thing. I was disgusted with the media. I was disgusted with the whole concept of how war was being fought, where they were keeping journalists out and outsiders. And I finally felt that I had achieved a true purpose. And if I was just to finish off by telling you sort of what my shtick is, we can't leave it up to journalists. We can't leave it up to people who are paid to go places to find out what's going on. I think it's our responsibility. That's why I put emails and phone numbers of rebel groups and addresses and how to get in to figure out what's happening in the world. And I don't mean that all of you have to go do it tomorrow. I'm just saying that with the internet, with all this technology, with all the things we have, rather than try to come up with the next .com, cleanupyourroom.com or whatever, let's think about how we can use that technology to stop things like war, and to communicate with people who are being killed, and to get beyond being a very affluent, rich society, and then start giving, just in terms of technology. I don't talk about giving money, I'm just trying to communicate to people. So I've done my little bit, and it does pretty well, so people obviously want to see more. So please copy what I do, just steal it, I don't care, just get it out there and try to make the world a better place. That's it.